Thanks for watching D2 Wrenchworks and DIY. Today's video we are going to do the Vilano Shadow 3.0, one of Amazon's most popular budget bikes, and I'm going to get into what 5-star reviews really mean and what buying on a budget actually costs. At the very end, we're going to get into what the final weight is and the final cost of every single upgrade and part that I add on, because boy, let me tell you, there's a lot that this bike comes with that I think they should fix. So let's get into it. You can find this Vilano Shadow for around $400 on Amazon today. That is a slightly newer edition than this one. The only actual difference in that is, though, the front derailleur has been changed, and the shifters, which is really the big get on this bike as a budget bike, they've changed them from Shimano Tourney that this one had to the Microshift 7-speed, which isn't bad. I do enjoy that, but I buy those typically for about $50. So, and they come with new shift cables and everything. For a $400 bike to keep getting minimalized is a little bit annoying, but it kind of really brings out what you're going to find when we really dig into this bike. If you first go on Amazon, there's tons of 5-star reviews. Great bike, awesome first bike, and I think it's a lot of people that don't really know what they're doing, or they haven't any mechanical experience to know a lot of things aren't doing so hot, which is a lot to do with why this bike is like new and it's also abandoned. When you buy one of these bikes, they're going to be in a box and you have to completely assemble them. And not only that, things that are assembled you need to go over, because really there should be no reason for you to have to go through and check the clamp derailleur torque. I mean, this should pretty much be done, set, and not messed with until the bike is tuned up again. And that should not really, I mean, to be honest, all you need to do is adjust the cable. You wouldn't have to mess with the clamp at all as long as it's set right the first time. So I don't hate this. It's a Shimano Tourney, but it got mangled up pretty badly, and it's not fault of the derailleur, but it's just whoever installed it. Somebody didn't torque it down, and you could actually tell on the clamp here it won't even fall into the hole. It's so out of line from it being ripped off the frame. Somebody was shifting from the small to the big on the crankset here, and it just completely lost its grip, and the person actually crashed, which is kind of a bummer, because if this is your first bike and you put out $500+ to get it, you know, tax and all of this, you're gonna be a little upset if you have a pretty bad crash out of nowhere on an actual assembly failure. So you also might want to figure, if you don't know what you're doing on a bike, you're gonna add on at least $150 in just assembly fees from a professional shop. If you're lucky, they'll only do $100, and they might not even tune it up then, though. They might just cut the cables down and make it a quick and easy out the door build. It's kind of the dark side of buying new on a budget. I have a bike I'm just done previously, a Cannondale 1999. This is $800. Their cheapest bike they sold. That sounds like a lot more money than $400 to $500 for sure. But then when we get through this whole table of shame I have here, you start adding up and you're like, no, wait a second. You could still sell that $800 bike for close to $800. Can you still sell this bike for $400? That's kind of what we're really going to review here and go through on everything, because it is very important for such a popular budget bike like this to be reviewed so highly and not really, there's no deep dive videos. Vilano has actually put together an assembly video like a year ago, so that's not even really into specifics like I'm going to get into. It's kind of just a quick and easy guide on how to slap it all together. But it's some important things that they've done trying to save money really does, it hurts you as a buyer. For example, first thing I did want to get into besides the front derailleur, the headset. This has a specialty headset, and I mean, I tried to take it apart to maintain it and put it back in there. Should be an easy, simple thing on any bike with a headset, and it literally crumbled and fell apart. And to make it even worse, getting one of these is like finding hen's teeth. This is the second one, and there's not many more of these left. The first one they sent me actually had the wrong race. So if you didn't know better and you didn't really closely compare your parts, you just slapped it all together, or you had a buddy or whoever that might have helped you, you're going to run into big time problems, because you can't just have a wonky headset. It'll cause you some weird issues you don't want to deal with in the future that could hurt your bike. This is what the bearings look like. This is like a ZC style bearing, a zero stack. And this is for, it's like an integrated style headset. So the fork, where the nice part here, will sit perfectly sealed up against there, and it has a high race that's supposed to go up here pretty easily. Your bearing will sit right on there in the frame, and it's all nice and smooth and together. The problem is these bearings are terrible. Yeah, this is a brand new one I just got, and it's just as bad as the other one I got. There's no grease in these. It makes a crunching gravel sound. I'll put a video here overlaid so you can see it all. That is a huge bummer. They also charge you $30 for one of these. So $30 plus you have to add a ton of grease into it. Get all the old grease out with WD-40 or something like this, because you don't want the old crap in there. You want to get something nice that's going to last you a really long time. I use Lucas Green, so I'm going to pack these full of that. They're also an odd size. I almost forgot to mention this. This is like 50 millimeters or something on the bottom, and the top is like a normal 44 or 42. I can't recall. I'll have pictures though. I did take measurements before, trying to desperately find anything, because I mean, basically at this point, if you have a headset failure and you take it to a shop, they're not going to help you. They're going to say, we can't find this. This is a weird size. Get it out of our shop. You call Vilano. This is where really things started to fall apart. Truthfully, I bought this bike in September, and I gave up after like a month of trying to figure out how to find. I was thinking about having a machine shop machine me a adapter piece. So this fork is only a standard 1 1/8 steer. There is no taper at all. So for this to be huge on the bottom of the headset makes no sense in the first place. If you're a handy guy, you're no machinist, you could actually make a full-size donut spacer to fit a normal smaller bearing a traditional bike would have, like my Cannondale or something like this. I have a newer Cat 4 Cannondale I'll be doing, but it's kind of you're in jeopardy at this point, because it's going to be a very expensive machinist project, and finding these are really hard. I've reached out 2 or 3 times to support. They blow you off. They pretty much say whatever it takes just to get you gone. They actually even told me that at first, and nothing against the staff, but this is true. They did say we don't stock parts on old bikes. Well, a year ago they made the assembly bike to this bike, so, and they still sell them new. It's not old. So I mean, it just seems like you should have part support and a little more knowledgeable staff if you're going to be selling brand new bikes. And they've been selling this bike since 2015, so they're clearly not looking to get rid of it anytime soon. Just some things to think about when you go through stuff like this. Now that I'm finally at the end of the tunnel, I don't really have anything against them. I kind of didn't let... When January 1st rolled around, I was like, all right, I got to get this thing done. I want to get a video on this. Even though I don't have a warranty on this bike and I bought it used, I figured maybe I'll get to somebody who knows what they're talking about. And I asked them, hey, I got this used bike, I'm making a video on it. Is there any way I could buy this part? Because, yeah, if you don't have a headset, the bike is completely garbage. So it's kind of crazy that this $30 part can make or break the bike for real. And I'll get off of that soapbox, because I know I feel like I've rambled way too long about this. It is nice that you get completely everything with the new headset. They even have the nicer upper washer here that is sometimes hard to find if you lose it. Or you can keep it for parts. That is all nice. And for $30, and you get a new bolt and all that too. At least that's done, and we have a solution to fix it. Nice green marine gray they use it on farm tractors and everything. Press it in there, one and done. I actually had a top one, luckily, so I pressed it in there, and there it is, already full of green grease. Now I just have to do this bottom one, and I would normally just put the race on the fork, but that is something I wanted to get into next. If you're going to get a first road bike, you want to have something that's going to be absolutely comfortable. This has a fixie rake, which is the offset of the dead center of the fork to where the actual axle mounts. So usually it's like 42 millimeter or something similar, like 40, 45. Those are standard road bike geometry forks based on, I guess, what your overall geometry is. Sometimes you want a faster turning fork, and that's what they do based on the rake. Sometimes you want a slower turning one. This is for a fixie, so it really doesn't belong on a road bike in the first place. It's obviously just some dirt cheap fixie fork that they could get. Not a huge fan. It is, I mean, it's going to make you have a bad time. it's going to probably feel absolutely terrible. I mean, no, not probably. It will feel absolutely terrible. This thing weighs almost 1,300 grams. And if you want to know what that means, because some people really don't understand, we can get one of these anywhere. If you don't want to shop around on eBay, you can buy this exact Kestrel fork for $89.99, free shipping off of Amazon. Links to everything in the description, of course, as usual. And this is around 500, 450 grams. So you're going to be going 880 grams, I believe it is. 805 gram difference. I actually had to write this down so I didn't forget. That's quite a lot just for changing your forks out. And you can even see here the fork geometry. We're going to give it a more traditional road bike geometry with this fork as well. We are going to drop 1.77 pounds when we lose that 805 gram difference. And not only that, this carbon leg fork is going to absorb so much more. And in this cheap aluminum fork with the heaviest steel steer I've ever seen, that, look, I mean, you can see also where the headset is all rusted around it too. Just nothing about this is good. And also the race was rusted, aluminum race was rusted onto here too. So not great. Low quality, gonna give you a bad ride performance, and you pick up tons of performance as well by changing it out just for $100. It's a no-brainer to me. Another bummer when the guy crashed, bent the heck out of the seat. This is a bad sign of quality parts. I mean, for the site, if you go on the website, their actual website or Amazon, they say they give you free pedals. Well, that's kind of nice because truthfully, pedals don't usually come with bikes new. If you're lucky, they'll include them used as well. But I mean, this is kind of what I'm saying, what to expect quality-wise for some things that are fairly important. If you crash, the pedals should maybe get scuffed up, maybe one little dent. But I mean, they're they're soft and not quality. It's kind of scary. This is not, you don't want plastic and steel to look like this after a minor crash. So definitely get rid of these. I don't really hate plastic pedals, but low quality stuff versus like high quality ABS, big difference. Back to the seat though, because of the crash, I mean, this is how minor the crash was. There's no real tears at all in this saddle. None. A tiny one here. Oh, you can actually see where it hit too. This is the scuff right here. I'll have video and all that too to show you guys. But I've found so many more bikes with horrifically torn saddles from crashes, and nothing looks as bad as this across the bike. Sign that this is total trash. And it goes all the way up to the front of the cockpit, as I was starting to mention earlier. The bars are also significantly bent on this side inwards, and this side still looks okay, but I mean, these bars aren't lightweight either. These are almost 400 grams. For these to be almost 400 grams, and again, seem to be made out of paper mache, extremely soft. I don't know what kind of quality aluminum this is, but it's bad, and it's unacceptable. So I've already changed those out, because I started to rebuild the whole bike until I realized, oh wow, I can't find a headset. That's where I got into. So I have the new bars on there. They are also 375 grams. You could get anything similar to this off of Amazon for $25. Just your basic aluminum drop bars, but it's something I really do feel for safety you should do on a bike like this. All right, as we're moving along here, really almost to the end of the problems, but some of them are a pretty big deal and kind of a bummer to see, because it really feels like they cheaped out when they could have done a lot better just by spending minimal amounts of money. This is a great example on a road bike. A lot of people don't even like putting long derailleurs on there. I'm long derailleur gang. I don't care. I love having a big cassette on the back. You know, I'm a chubby boy. I need to get up there and climb. But this is unacceptable. I'm sorry. You don't even see this on the cheapest mountain bikes on Trek or Specialized. They will have Isera or something Altus, which is still pretty good stuff. This level of tourney is, I'm not being mean here, I'm just being frank and genuine. It's what you find on a children's bike, because they're going to destroy it very likely. They throw the bike over, they crash it, you know. They don't really care for it the way adults do. So it's likely to get replaced. And this is it's meant to fail faster than the frame would. It's also fairly light, surprisingly, only 310 grams, so you would think it's pretty good quality, but that's because it's mostly plastic. You don't want something like this on your bike, and this is how low it would hang. with a chain. I mean, you would have it hanging so incredibly low here. You would be able to catch a stick or anything on any of your greenways. And for a budget bike that's supposed to be more of a beginner road bike, you can easily get a way nicer rear derailleur just for only a few more dollars. Again, this is something I talk about all the time. I love this budget derailleur. You could get this under $30 anywhere you look. This is 275 grams. We're not losing a ton of weight, but it's just the fact that we have such a less bulky, higher quality, easier to shift derailleur, and it is going to work so much better with that Shimano STI road bike shifter set versus, even though it is Tourney and those are Tourney shifters, this is a mountain bike one. It's going to be a little clunky, and actually people complain about they don't like it at all. Now, as I mentioned, the front derailleur completely destroyed. It's not terrible if you wanted to leave it on there, but the new ones, as I also mentioned, if you have a Gen 2, you're looking at getting a brand new one off of Amazon. That is going to come with the Microshift R8. This is a very nice piece, actually. Kind of cool, too. It comes with a little free adapter piece. Not much different than the Shimano Claris. The Shimano Claris is a little more fancy, to tell you the truth. This is around 20 bucks. This is around 25, 28, maybe 30. Floats around the prices of them. But the Claris will obviously be a little more high-end. This is a little more on the budget. This is what they come with today, and I still think it's a very good unit. Much, much better than this, that's for sure. This has like nice quality aluminum and steel, and this is just cheap stamped steel and no aluminum and not really great quality at all. So we're going to get rid of that. Stem, not really a great stem. I mean, it's 170 grams. That's not terrible. There are heavier ones out there on cheaper bikes, but it's also 110 millimeters long, which is shockingly large for something like this. You'd put that on maybe a 58. If it's a 56 centimeter, you'd still only want like 100. So this is quite large. I guess it's just whatever they had in surplus. I'm not really sure how they got to this. Doesn't fit the geometry at all. So I will be changing that out. As you can see here, these are much smaller stems. Uno 7 makes an excellent, super lightweight, lighter than carbon stem. You get that in any length you want. This one's 90. And then I have a, what is this, Up and Bike. This is also it's a little more on the heavier side. It's going to be closer to the weight of this, but it's going to be a fair amount cheaper as well. So kind of, we'll see. Still up in there about a few things here. Really need to sit down and calculate how much I have in this because I don't want to go too over the top. I was thinking about building this for myself, but I actually have in my next video, a giant OCR 3 that is mine and all done. So it'll be a quick and easy video. But you can check that out. So it's my Cannondale, this, and the Giant all back-to-back great budget bike videos to see what you like the best. For our Seatpost, this is not uncommon. This thing's super heavy. And also, on top of our very long stem, it has a fairly large setback. Not really great to have unless you're a huge person trying to fit on a medium-sized bike, which you wouldn't want to do in the first place. BBB makes this also does have a setback, of course, but whoever you want to use, I don't have a zero setback with me, unfortunately, but they all make very excellent high-end aluminum lightweight seat posts around 250 grams. If you didn't want to do that, this is an excellent upgrade. I actually just did this to my Giant OCR 3. This is a carbon fiber 27.2 seat post. That's what fits this. You get these around $30, and really it's a must-have. It's such a big upgrade with the carbon fork. If I was keeping this, I would do it myself. But I have another build I will be using this for, so something to think about if you want to get this bike and make these upgrades. And this brings me to my last complaint, I guess you could say. The rest of it I will show you when we get the bike all cleaned up and all together for its little beauties. The shifting, and this is really common if you went to Dick's Sporting Goods and you bought an Ashiki Century, which I've also done a video on before, 2 videos actually, one of our personal bikes for a while, pretty good bike. Always, for whatever reason, they put way too much. I guess they just have standard lengths of cable that are mass produced, and they're like, this one goes up front, these go in the rear, but they're always way too long. So they need to be cut down, and it's really, honestly, at that point, you really should also change these terrible cables that come out with it. And it's really hard to tell, but they almost have a chalky substance all over them because they are the cheapest aluminized, I'm guessing, cables. I don't know what the heck they're made out of, more cheap weird metal, but they're garbage. The brake housings are actually really, really terrible. You don't really see stuff like this unless you go to Walmart. So not great overall. This is where I was figuring you probably end up paying a bike shop if you want it done right, and this is your your nice bike and you want to you want it to last a while, you would do a full tune-up like I'm going to do. You're going to throw this all away. All new cables, all new cable housings, brake and shifters, and you never have to worry about this again. Plus you could even get them color matches I did here. Got a little white on there. So we're going to get rid of all of this mess. But if you're on a budget, you want to try to cut it to size and make it last, you can. Just keep an eye on the cables, because once they start getting this chalky look to it, they're going to leave substance in the housings and gum it up. So you don't need this. This is just a little chain guard up here. It honestly kind of makes it look dumb. So trash. And this is some weird Chinese no-name. I mean, you kind of see this a little bit too on Walmart bikes and some other things like that. Even Dick's Sporting Goods comes with a Shimano chain or a KMC chain, and that's actually pretty much like the bare minimum if you're on a budget, if you ask me. So we will be replacing that, of course. Get rid of that. And now it's time to throw the bike together and see what it comes out to. Boom, look at that. That is what I call a long time coming, and I couldn't be happier. I know it was a little rough in the beginning, giving a real honest take on some of the things I was lesser than happy with, but we've replaced everything. It's either been upgraded, rebuilt, fixed one way or another, and really actually one thing I didn't touch on, the crank is a one piece, and that I'm not a huge fan of. You can find budget ones on Amazon for around $20, $25. In fact, this one looks almost identical to this, what we have here. And this is actually a little bit bigger, 5339. But you could find whatever crank length you need. Always, if you upgrade a crank, read down the bottom here. They'll be stamped your length. These are 175. Very long for this frame. You should have a 170 likely. But for $25, you could pick up a 170, whatever size you need. An excellent upgrade. You can replace these chain rings very easily. On this one, they're all one piece, and they're kind of just riveted behind each little leg here on the crank. It's not great, but it actually doesn't have any bent chain rings or anything. It's nice and smooth with the new microshift derailleur. Shifts excellent. Of course, the Claris, bing, bang, boom, up and down every single gear. No problem at all. As I mentioned before, I love this rear derailleur. Super great for bikes like this. I upgraded the brakes as well. These are cool stop style holders with just normal Shimano pads, but it's really a must versus the mono blocks. A great upgrade. We did a new saddle with a built-in taillight, which is a cool little feature. Added some really baller Easton orange bar tape to really spice it up, go with the white cabling and everything. Even got some little cable ends you'll notice here all over. Match the bike. Give it that little bit of extra swag. Big bonus too, this bike easily clears 28C tires front and rear, no problem whatsoever. 28C does gain you a little bit of weight. So we started around 25 pounds and we're now going to be 23.2. which really I would count 22 if you kept the stock tires. For sure, you'd easily be in 22 pounds. That's pretty good for what it is. The carbon fork is a huge bonus, and like I said, it's also going to take a lot of comfort to the ride, give you a much better feeling overall. Just for the heck of it, I upgraded the seat post collar there. Small weight gain, but it is a lot nicer. The one that was on there is kind of a clunky piece of poop. Not a really nice one at all, so we're gonna, yeah, as usual, you know, chuck it. One nice thing too, these seats, I actually bought the rest of them, I guess. There's only 3, so sorry about that. But this is an excellent addition. I was going to use this retrospec. They're the same price, $15. No taillight, of course, but this one's a little higher quality. Very good classic road shape to it. Pretty much that's about it. I don't think there's too much more to cover. Very, very pleased with how it came out. This thing I thought was going to be haunting me for years to come, and I'll never get rid of it. I'll just see it every day in pieces. So to see it all together is such a very nice thing to see. I can't be more happy with it. As I mentioned, the tires, the carbon fork, I mean, it's like I said, I built it like it was going to be my personal bike, because it really was going to be. So if you like this video, guys, please do not forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my small channel grow. At the very end here, don't go yet, we're going to get into the breakdown of the cost, how much it really costs to own one of these bikes. You want to support the channel, you can support us on Patreon. All donations go directly to this bike. And if you want to support us on YouTube memberships, you can also do that as well. Now, for the final breakdown, oh yeah, I did want to mention this, that's taillight actually has a little USB recharger. It's rechargeable. Pretty neat little find. So, our full cost of ownership is here. It comes to bars, $25, front derailleur, $20, headset, $30, as I mentioned over and over. The headset. Fork, $90 new. I actually got mine for $49 on eBay. You're not really saving a ton of money getting a used fork. I could actually get it quicker than the one I could get off of Amazon. Some guy is just doing 3-day shipping, so I went ahead and did that. It's the same exact thing. Bottle cage, $10. Chain, Gold Chain Mafia. You know, you ain't in the gang if you ain't got a gold chain. $12 for that. Great budget buy. Our Claris rear derailleur is $30. Easton bar tape, $15. Saddle, $15. 28C tires. These were free off of a Fuji I did. You absolutely should check out. You can get a better set than these. Continental, what are they called? Continental Ultra Sports. Those are $45 brand new for a pair of 28C tires. Those are also black, not the white tires. So stem is $13. I mentioned you could spend a little bit more and go a lot lighter with the Uno 7, but not really needed for this. Pedals. We went with some aluminum pedals here. Some pretty nice ones. All steel and aluminum construction. Will last you forever. Those cost you about $20. If you wanted to get this assembled and fully built up and everything right out the door, you're going to be looking for $150 to $200 at a bike shop. If you know somebody you're a regular, you might get them to do $100, but you really want every screw on both derailleurs and the torque. You want somebody to just go through this whole thing. The wheels aren't terrible either. I got them smooth and spun up, but they did take work. Before, that was one of the first things I did, the rear wheel, and it took me a lot of back and forth, really just, you know, you want to try to make sure you true things perfectly. You don't want to have any egg lumps where it bounces up and down like this, you know. So I did spend the time to make it trued up real nice and well, so they'll last a very, very long time, like everything else we want to do on here. And that concludes the build, guys. $491 it comes to for the cost of ownership, and then tack on another $400 to $500 to buy the bike new. So it's a great bike, but I think it should be a little cheaper, somewhere in the $300 range, and we'd be talking business. Because like I said, you could go to Dick's Sporting Goods and those bikes, the Nishiki Maricopa or the Nishiki Century, those are almost identical bikes set out at different times, only $500. So with that said, guys, have a good day. Thanks for watching. It's time for me to get out of here. Bye.